What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Locked On Pirates podcast. I am, of course, your host who does the most, Ethan Smith. Hope you all are having a phenomenal Wednesday, March 2nd, if you are Christian or Catholic, and celebrate Happy Ash Wednesday as well. Hopefully you all are having a phenomenal day as we are at Hump Day. And, of course, with the news that came out yesterday and the pod that I had yesterday, the optimism fell short, and we will be talking about the first two series of the MLB season being postponed per Rob Manfred. We are also going to get into some 40-man or non-40-man prospects that you can look out for when the minor league season begins on April 5th, because at this point the season is going to start for the minor leagues before it starts before the major leagues. So that is a given, so we will talk about that today as well. But thank you guys so much, of course, for making me your first listen of the day every single day, wherever you get your podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at MVP_Ethan or at LockedOnPirates, and use the hashtag FirstListen when you talk about anything on Twitter and the Locked On Pirates podcast. I am your host, Ethan Smith, and let's get into today's episode.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, and welcome back to the Locked On Pirates podcast. Hope you all are having a phenomenal Wednesday, as mentioned before. Again, it's been a very interesting time, you know. You got a lot of stuff going on with baseball right now, and of course the biggest news comes out of the MLB lockout out of Jupiter, Florida, where the first two series of the season are delayed, meaning we will not be seeing the Pittsburgh Pirates open their season against the St. Louis Cardinals on March 31st as we wanted to, but there is the possibility that we see them open against the Chicago Cubs a week later. The optimism was there, and it quickly left. That was kind of unfortunate to see, but also, like I've seen a lot of people say right now, if it means missing a month of the season and the CBA is better than it looked, I'll take that. And the players, I think, made that very aware as well. They really just want to see the offer that they want. They want to see a lot of better things, and a lot of what I took away from yesterday was the owners seemed that they were making their best offer at the time. Now, a lot of you saw that they were bringing up the word best offer. Well, that was their best offer that they had until they move on and do not accept a deal. And the players did not accept the deal for a multitude of reasons. One, because there was things, as we've seen some players come out and say, that they had not even seen on the previous proposals on the CBT from the owners, that they were trying to slide past them. And I've said this a multitude of times in the Locked On group chat. I've said it on Twitter. The blame is on everybody. It is not just on the owners. It is mostly on the owners, yes, but you have to place the blame elsewhere. The owners did not submit a proposal for almost a month and a half, because I understand with the timing on December 1st, the holidays were here, you know, you had to look out for a lot of stuff like that. But you had the whole month of January and some parts of February where there was just nothing going on with negotiations. Now, I understand negotiating, especially with everything that is at stake, is a very tough thing to do. It's a very hard thing to do, and they waited until the last minute to try to get it done. And any set deadline they have right now is arbitrary. We saw that their deadline was midnight Monday night, and they pushed it back to 5 p.m. yesterday. Now, of course, this time, we see that the games were actually canceled, and that means the spring training that we will likely see will be shortened as well. That also means that more games are probably going to be canceled here pretty soon, because they now have to meet elsewhere outside of Jupiter, Florida. So they're probably going to meet in New York. The earliest they can meet is tomorrow, wherever they decide to. And it just still seems that the owners and the players are so far apart. It felt like they were really close. When you meet for 17 hours, that helps. That genuinely does help in the negotiation process, but also at the end of the day, not a lot that you could really do about it. They are very far apart, and the players, I think, they've had enough of everything that has happened over the past decade or so. And I am also tired of hearing about revenue going down. Revenue has not gone down. There have been multiple credible and reliable sources that have said that these baseball teams outside of the COVID year, so last year and the year before that, were making very, very big profits in revenue from these teams. They were making profit. So when you hear that people are saying the revenue went down, they need to make money back from the COVID year, and that's why they're not trying to give players more money. No, they're just trying to find an excuse to not give players the money that they deserve. Again, at the end of the day, as I've said on this podcast before, this doesn't affect Max Scherzer. This doesn't affect Francisco Lindor. This doesn't affect, guys that make a lot of money like Mookie Betts. That doesn't affect those teams. And you've also seen the stuff about Scott Boras and the Los Angeles Dodgers, because at the end of the day as well, the luxury tax threshold is usually only hit by one team, and that is the Los Angeles Dodgers. So the fact that the lockout is basically being implemented in the way that it is, where you have this luxury tax threshold stuff and all that, that doesn't affect 90% of the league. The only teams that ever even come close to that luxury tax are the New York Mets, the New York Yankees, the Boston Red Sox, the Chicago Cubs when they spend, and the Los Angeles Dodgers. And even sometimes 3 or even 4 of those teams don't even come close to it or hit it at all. So that one is kind of interesting to me, that's a major talking point. Now, the minimum salaries is another big one as well. I believe they were about $50,000 apart on that. That is a big issue. $50,000 when you're talking to billionaires it's a little bit of an issue to me. I could see, though, seeing as how many players are on minimum contracts, that it is a lot more than $50,000 difference, like you would be getting into the millions probably. But at the end of the day, they are very far apart still, I think. And I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here covering everything about it. I'm still going to be talking about the Pirates in the hopes that we get an MLB season, because right now there's a lot of stuff going on. BetOnline.ag, the sponsor of today's episode, currently has odds right now to bet on when the season's going to start, and their odds say that there's going to be no season. They have odds better to say that there's no season than if the season started next month. But, of course, if you want to bet on other things at BetOnline, make sure you go to where the game starts. Football might be over for the season, but basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next Fire coach is going to land, BetOnline.net is the #1 spot for all of your sports betting needs this year. BetOnline remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just for basketball. You can bet on hockey, baseball when it comes back, UFC, and the Olympic coverage that will be coming up pretty soon, as well as the World Cup coverage that will be also coming soon for soccer. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action going on at BetOnline, and BetOnline is where the game starts. So now with the first 2 series of the season delayed, looking at the Pirates' schedule as it would sit right now as I look it up on my phone as I talk to you guys. Of course, as we already mentioned, a lot of the spring training games have already been canceled. You already saw the first 2 series of the season be canceled, where the Pirates are going to be playing against the St. Louis Cardinals. I know many of you also who had tickets to the game got yesterday saying that you will get tickets for the new opening day, and it's infuriating a little bit. The Pirates, of course, opening day now will be April 12th for PNC Park, but opening day, like the first day of the season, is now slated for April 7th, so that would be at St. Louis rather than in PNC Park. Of course, you still have Jackie Robinson Day that comes into the fold on April 15th against the Washington Nationals, where the Pirates will play at St. Louis, the Cubs, the Nationals, and then they will go on a road trip against Milwaukee and Chicago, and then wrap up the month against Milwaukee and San Diego at home. So a lot of home action in the month of April, which I'm hoping for you season ticket holders that the season actually does start at that time, because I know people who invest in season tickets are very probably upset right now because they're not getting an entire season. And it also just comes down to the point of, is baseball going to be better when we wrap this up? That is really, I think, the biggest question that there is to have right now. Is you have to hope that baseball is going to be in a better spot after this lockout than it currently is right now. Do you get that? That is going to be the biggest thing. Because are the owners just going to basically force the players to cave in and accept a deal to play baseball? That appears to be what they're doing. I actually had somebody in a space the other day on Twitter say that this is like a hostage situation. They know the players want to play baseball, and they are holding them hostage to doing so. So when you really look at it from a certain scope of things, you can take it that way. But I won't even lie to you either. The owners did make decent offers. But any time that the players would cave and give them something, like give up something, the owners would ask for more and more and more. That's just how this negotiation process has gone ever since it started. Which side was going to start giving and which side was going to give up more. Both sides have given up about the same amount of stuff and haven't given up more. And we might be stuck in that position for a hot minute. I mean, you've seen what they've agreed upon. They agreed on a 12-team playoff format where the top two division winners will get a first-round bye. And then the third division winner will play the last wild card, and then the two wild cards will play each other, I believe, in a first round best of three series. So that's fun. They also approved the universal DH already, which is fun because I can get into who the Pirates would probably put there. Yoshi Tsutsugo, Neil Cruz. There's a lot of different guys that need opportunities, at bats, everything heading into this 2022 season, which makes this even more infuriating as a Pirates fan, because you have a lot of these younger guys who need the time and need to actually get on the baseball field and showcase what they can do and showcase that they are a part of this team for the future. And they can't do it right now. Some of the other things they talked about were banning the shift. We saw Joey Gallo talk about that a lot and jokingly sign up on LinkedIn. They talked about increasing the size of the bases. That was another one that was brought up during these negotiations and meetings, as well as a pitch clock. All of these are things that you will probably see pop up at some point. Most notably, probably a pitch clock, because I'll take from what Sully said today on Locked on MLB. I'll kind of quote him a little bit, but I don't remember exactly what he said. Baseball is a sport that is built for the internet age. It is daily content every single day. It has something to talk about almost every single day. Yet, in this internet age, they've somehow found a way to not grow the game of baseball when it is on every day during the summer. Almost every single day. Not even almost. Every single day. Even if your team has off, there's probably 6 or 7 other baseball games that you can go and watch in the middle of June. Every single day. And once you're done watching the East Coast teams, guess what? The West Coast teams are right behind them. It's just content on content on content that they have. And you can see all the numbers from any player at any given at-bat, at any given pitch. I mean, you know how hard they hit the ball now with exit velocity. You know exactly how fast a guy's throwing a fastball or a curveball. You know exactly how far guys are hitting home runs with the home run tracker. This game is built for the internet age. And yet, for some reason, baseball refuses to try to grow the game. I don't know why. You have so many players that could market themselves and make a killing, man. I mean, look at the NBA right now. LeBron James, Ja Morant, DeMar DeRozan, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic. You hear about them on SportsCenter every single day. Aaron Rodgers, you hear about him. Russell Wilson, Jimmy Garoppolo. NFL's not even playing right now. And they're talking about these guys ad nauseum on every single major sports site and blog that you can talk about. Where is Aaron Rodgers going? But baseball right now, all you're talking about is a lockout because it's all that's going on. But even during the season, you have guys like Juan Soto who are just so marketable. Fernando Tatis Jr., Mookie Betts, Wander Franco, one of the best young players in the entire game of baseball right now, And if I told a casual baseball fan who Wander Franco was, they might not even know. They might not even know who Wander Franco is. I mean, go to somebody in Baltimore, Maryland right now and ask them who Adley Rutschman is. Guarantee you they don't tell you unless they watch baseball enough to know that Adley Rutschman is the best prospect in all of baseball. But when you hear about the NFL draft and all these other sports, it's built up so much. The MLB draft's a lot harder. You don't see these guys for like 3 or 4 years. But Wander Franco should have been marketed as the next best thing in baseball because he is. Jared Kelenic, another great player. Julio Rodriguez, another great player. O'Neal Cruz. Nobody outside of Pitt. The only reason people outside of Pittsburgh know who O'Neal Cruz is right now is because he's 6'7" and plays shortstop. It's the only reason people know who he is. Brian Reynolds got virtually no exposure last year. If he wouldn't have made the All-Star game, I guarantee you nobody would have noticed the season that Brian Reynolds had if they didn't just normally watch baseball. That's what baseball is doing to itself right now, is it is, instead of marketing itself in the internet age like it has the capabilities of doing, it is basically shooting itself in the foot. And that's thanks to a lot of different people. And I will let you decide who those people are for yourself, but I will let you know that if you want some energy right now, since there's not much energy in baseball, if you want some energy for yourself, make sure you go get a Built Bar. Built Bar, of course, is the best tasting protein bar on planet Earth. Built Bars, of course, are covered in 100% real chocolate, and they are absolutely good for you as well. Go to BuiltBar.com and scroll down to the macros chart. You'll be blown away. High protein, low calorie, high fiber, and low carbs. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. Built Bar, of course, is always coming out with new flavors all the time, and you can get a mix box where you'll get 9 different flavors of Built Bars, so you'll get 2 bars each of 9 different flavors. When you go to BuiltBar.com and find those out, they are always releasing new flavors, and if you have a good idea for a flavor, let them know. They might create a Built Bar for it. Of course, make sure you head to BuiltBar.com right now, use the promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off of your order when you invest in the best protein bars on the planet. Today's episode is also brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of parts and stuff to fix your car, why go to your local chain auto parts store when you have access to this stuff that the person over the counter is trying to oversell you on your computer? And guess what? They only usually have one brand in the warehouse anyway. But you have computers with access to RockAuto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer, and they can have everything you need, from brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. Go explore their easy-to-use website today, and when you go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck, write Locked On in all caps in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. That is rockauto.com. Now, as I've spoken ad nauseum about the lockout, there's a lot of guys in the Pittsburgh Pirates system that you're going to still be able to watch. The minor league season, as I mentioned earlier, is still slated to start on April 5th. That means Indianapolis, Altoona, and Bradenton and rookie ball will all be starting around that time. And there's some guys, man, that we can see play here, and it just so happens enough that 3 of the top 5 prospects in the Pirate system are not yet on the 40-man roster: Quinn Priester, Henry Davis, and Nick Gonzalez. But as we had Gary Morgan on the show not too long ago about this, I think the prospect of not having Roansy Contreras, O'Neal Cruz, Jack Sawinski, Kanan Smith-Njigba, Travis Swaggerty, those guys in the minor leagues, this is going to make it very interesting to see where some of these players start their seasons at. Because I think a lot of us expect Quinn Priester and Nick Gonzalez to take considerable jumps this year alongside Liover Peguero, who also cannot play because he's on the 40-man roster. But is it possible that Nick Gonzalez could start the season in AAA Indianapolis? I don't see why not. It's very possible. I mean, he'll more than likely start in Altoona, but you guys also have to keep in mind these teams are going to be absolutely fun to watch for a multitude of reasons, because you're also going to have rookie ball. Anthony Solometo, Bubba Chandler are going to be there. Carmen Majinski is probably going to be a fun name to watch. He'll probably be in the AA, AAA ranks. Lonnie White, rookie ball. Hudson Head, I think he has a chance to move to AA, but I think he starts the season in Bradenton regardless. Of course, he was a pickup from the Adam Frazier or the Joe Musgrove trade with the San Diego Padres just last year. Tanaj Thomas, another guy that I think is going to be very fun to watch. He'll probably be a high A guy or a double A guy at some point. Michael Burrows, another fun pitcher to watch and keep an eye on. As well, Jared Jones, yet another pitcher to keep an eye on. Mason Martin. Now, if you guys have been seeing Jason Mackey and Alex Stumpton, all those guys down there at Pirate City right now, Mason Martin has been raking, and he is probably the strongest guy in the system right now in terms of power, and they have him slated to start the season at AAA in MLB.com. If you want to have yourself a treat, make sure you tune into whatever game Mason Martin is on, because I think Mason Martin is the future first baseman as of right now. Right now, the first baseman options are probably Michael Chavis and Yoshi Tsutsugo, but with the universal DH, I think that'll change things up a bit. Mason Martin is a universal DH, man. That could be pretty fun. I think that'll be an interesting thing to watch him do his stuff. I do want to see him take down his swing and miss rate, though. I think that his biggest negative is the fact that he's just not hitting the baseball as often as he should be. But when he does hit the baseball, man, he ropes them. He ropes them, baby, and I love to see it. So I think Mason Martin will be very fun to watch. Cal Mitchell, one of my favorite prospects in the system, the left-handed, left-handed, left batting outfielder. Love Cal Mitchell. Excited to see him. I was very surprised that he wasn't actually put on the 40-man roster. I think he will definitely be in AAA Altoona to start the season and have a fun time down there. And then you get to see some interesting stuff, too, with Endy Rodriguez, the catcher turned outfielder turned whatever position he is going to end up playing. Still a very young player, picked up from that trade, I believe, in the Jameson Taillon trade that sent Jameson Taillon to the Yankees. That was always going to be a fun trade. He is pretty far away, though, so we'll see. Another fun name, Michael Escato. I've seen his name brought up a lot over the course of the offseason as one of the names that could be a guy that really takes a jump. Yet he's only 19, so that's going to be another interesting thing to talk about with him. I think he'll mainly stay in the lower level, single A, double A, with some of these guys gone. Brennan Malone, rookie ball. We already know that, or he might pop up a little bit. G1 Bay, I think, is a lock to probably start the season in AAA with Piguero, Tucupita Marcano, those guys not being able to play in the minor leagues. I think that's going to be very fun for him. I think G1 Bay is a very good sleeper pick to have a very big year. Of course, 6'1", 185, 70 running, 55 hitting, 50 arm, 45 overall prospect right now. I think G1 Bay is going to be very fun as well to keep track of. And then you have some more names down here as well in the bottom 20s. Matthew Frazier, I think he's going to have another good year this year. He had a good year last year with Greensboro. I think he'll take the jump to Altoona and then maybe potentially Indianapolis, depending on how long the lockout really lasts. Kyle Nicholas, who we picked up from the Miami Marlins in the Jacob Stallings trade, will also be probably getting some time. Omar Cruz, another fun guy to watch, a left-handing pitcher. So I'm giving you guys a lot of names here. And then you got Cody Bolton down there at the bottom as well. I think he'll start in AAA. But this lockout has definitely affected how teams are going to probably build their minor league systems. But once we get closer to the minor league season, we're going to be covering it a little bit more here on the Locked On Pirates podcast. Guys, thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. Thank you for making me your first listen of the day, even if it comes out in mid-afternoon. Thank you for making me your first listen of the day every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I am, of course, your host, Ethan Smith. You can find my work here on the Locked On Pirates podcast or at Bucks in the Basement with Gary Morgan, who runs things over there. You can also follow me on Twitter at MVP_Ethan and at Locked On Pirates. Also, make sure you follow Bucks in the Basement at Bucks Basement. And, guys, thank you so much. Tomorrow's episode will feature San Diego Padres Locked On Padres host Javier Reyes making his return to the show tomorrow as we talk about how to love baseball despite the lockout and how the minor leagues are going to be heading into this year. But until then, guys, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and I will catch you on the flip side.